I think it even goes back to Edison. He understood that if you could ever capture the sun's light and convert it into electricity, you would have something.
Sometimes we know the answer, but don't yet have all the pieces in place to execute it. We may know what needs to be done, but not know how to do it. We may know what the answer looks like, but not be able to create it in the real world. Some people might find discouragement in such a situation, throwing up their hands and declaring a hopeless loss. Lucky for us, there are people in this world who see a challenge in such situations and make it their life's work to make the dream a reality. Now, I believe it's our job to help our kids find their way to that second path, to see obstacles as challenges to help them grow, rather than as walls halting any further progress. When it comes to climate change and the effects of human action on our planet, the news is full of people in the first camp, decrying the situation as hopeless and not worth doing anything about. But in creating this podcast and the Planet Bonehead TV show, I've had the good fortune to talk with many leaders in Greentech and environmental science and industry. And I can tell you, they are full of optimism and great ideas. My mission is to share their optimism and ideas with you so we can teach our kids how to see the obstacles we face today as challenges that they will solve tomorrow. And the leaders I interview on this podcast have already given them a tremendous head start. This is Greentech Vista. Today's episode is brought to you by Holocene Clean Energy. Holocene's mission is to mainstream clean energy by creating and selling well-designed, high-quality, and properly financed solar PV systems. Learn more about Holocene at their website, holocene-energy.com. And stick around for the end of this podcast for a really cool ad I created for them. Today, I had the opportunity to speak with Holocene CEO, Ralph Thompson. We talked about the evolution of solar as a technology and as an industry. Here's an industry that's always shown promise and yet had one major obstacle that seemed to crush all hopes of it ever becoming the dominant energy source. It was impossible to use solar energy as a replacement for fossil fuels. Energy from the sun is plentiful and free, unlike fossil fuels. However, electricity generation from solar energy requires direct sunlight, meaning you can't get power if it's cloudy or bad weather or night. The answer, of course, was to create some sort of energy storage solution or batteries so that we can create energy when the sun is shining and use it when we actually need it. But this was an obstacle that for years seemed insurmountable, until all of a sudden, it wasn't.
But what's happened in the last, I would say the last 2 or 3 years, it's extraordinary, is because of the volume, both here in the U.S. and worldwide, the technology has continued to improve. You know, all of these things, and it's not one thing. It's a series of maturing aspects that have actually created what I consider to be now a marketplace for clean energy coming through, solar specifically, but, obviously wind, and then the energy storage strategies that are coming soon. All these things are now to the point where we're a competitive energy supply strategy in almost every market in the U.S. So it's from the time when we started this business 10 years ago to now, it doesn't look anything like it did then. 2 years ago, we were thinking of storage as a fantasy or something that could, it was really on the, longer term. But we've got, I would say, almost half of all of our projects, we've got a strategy with storage that actually pencils today. So, and we're hoping, and we think that actually could go to 100% in literally just about a year. So the adoption of it's going to happen relatively quickly because the people that we're working with on the technology side, not the storage technology, but the distribution side, are saying, yeah, we need that, and this is what it's worth.
It would have been easy for the industry to throw in the towel and give up on the idea. Certainly there are factions in the world of fossil fuels who would have preferred that, but they didn't, And suddenly, within the last 2 years, solar storage went from being a fantasy to a reality, in use in solar installations right now. This inspires me, and one of the missions of my TV show is to inspire kids to keep dreaming big and using their imaginations to think of their own solutions to environmental problems. And this made me wonder, what's next? What is the next major advancement in solar?
I have no idea. How's that? How's that? For me, I think I've been around long enough to realize that even what we think is going to happen with solar and what we can kind of generally project in terms of where the technology is going in the next few years, my guess is that's all going to be blown away even in a 5-year period. I mean that'll just be so much different in 4 or 5 years. So I think the kind of the pace of change and the adoption, the adoption across our country and across the world will have a significant impact on on the type of industries and the governments that are actually investing in moving the technologies forward.
In the accompanying video episode, Solar Batteries for Kids, now on YouTube, I planted the seed that one possible next step could be the creation of solar communities. Entire towns or neighborhoods completely energy self-sufficient with their own solar gardens. Such communities are already on the drawing board, but I ask kids to start to think of what these communities might look like. This is through a special segment of the episode called Mission Time. In Mission Time, Bonehead gives the kids their own top secret spy mission. In this case, their mission is to design what a solar garden or solar community might look like where they live. They are to think of all the buildings and objects in their area that use electricity, and then draw a picture or diagram describing how a solar garden could power them all. The purpose of Mission Time is to engage kids where they are. Some are more into the science of things, while others are artists or great communicators. While talking with Greentech CEOs like Ralph, one thing I heard over and over again was that these companies are looking for people with a wide range of talents.
Almost no matter where the kind of interest lies or the kind of natural ability of a student when they come out of college or high school, there are opportunities in this marketplace, and they're not going away. I think they will be enhanced and grow and mature over the next decade. This industry, this clean tech industry, whether it's on the actual design of these projects or the manufacturing of the equipment, or if it's creating the next financial model that takes full advantage of the things that storage provide. Those are opportunities that actually really exist in this industry. I think the bridge is platforms like this and training our counselors to be able to identify the kids' kind of natural ability and where they could plug in. The market is really searching for talent that comes out of other traditional roles and can plug in easily. And I think on the construction side, there's what we consider to be a relatively easy transition. The kind of project management, of kind of classically building a manufacturing facility. The people that build and organize those types of construction projects do very well in our industry. The people that do land development, real estate development, they end up doing very well in the clean energy industry. People that do public policy work love this industry because there's always new opportunities. Same thing on the finance side. We find that we can go to very traditional finance houses and find talent that can plug in here pretty easily.
Teaching kids about climate change and our environment can be tricky. If all we go by is the news and the debates in Washington or state capitals, then we might begin to paint a picture of hopelessness. But I'm here to tell you, none of that's true. That's all smoke and mirrors meant to trigger people's emotions, sell clicks, and get votes. The actual work in solving climate change is being done by people like Ralph Thompson and the amazing team at Holocene, among many, many others. There is a vast network of people we will meet here each week who have found the solutions to so many of our, quote, unsolvable problems. These things are not science fiction, but science fact, right now, today. And finally, I asked Ralph how we can prepare kids for their not-so-far-off futures and potential careers in green tech.
To me, it's about training counselors to look at young people's kind of core talents, whether it's mathematical or contractual or relationship building, or if it's physical manufacturing or physical kind of installation. But people that have kind of curiosities in those areas can find a way to have a nice career in clean energy. Obviously, when we hire and we go out and we say we want so many years of experience in this exact type of degree, but we often find the best candidates come out of another whole realm, but have some of the same talents, but not necessarily the same training. And that's just what my recommendation to anybody that's thinking about their career or like is to look at just as wide a variety of types of things as possible that would interest them.
Thank you, Ralph, for your time, insight, and optimism. Holocene was the very first sponsor to sign up and help fund production of this new TV show and podcast. And as a special thank you, I made them this really cool ad. There's a video version to the ad that's on the video version of the podcast. So if you're listening to the audio version of this, you might want to check it out on the video. Holocene Clean Energy connects commercial and industrial entities of all sizes to cost-effective, renewable energy. Whether your company is focused on meeting sustainability goals, keeping energy costs low and predictable, or a combination of the two, Holocene delivers clean, renewable energy from its solar generation facilities to you. Holocene does not believe in one-size-fits-all solutions. Instead, our best practice approach digs into each customer's unique energy needs and then creates an appropriately sized solar generation solution to meet those needs. Holocene has more than 150 megawatts of solar energy generation with PJM interconnection available for contract. Contact us today to start on the path to procure clean, renewable energy. Partner with Holocene. Our future together is green. Greentech Vista is my podcast for parents, teachers, and the green tech community in general. There is some amazing work being done out there, and people simply don't know about it. My wish with this podcast is to put a spotlight on these people and tell their stories, as well as share ideas about how we can prepare today's kids to be tomorrow's environmental leaders. I'm Bobby Donahue. Thanks for listening. And please subscribe to the Planet Bonehead YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/planetbonehead.